camera. Give it off, down.
If you go into David Lynch films expecting some kind of conventional narrative, you're more often than not going to come out wanting. The man has become known as one of American cinema's premier surrealists, with media like Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks being known for raising more questions about themselves than they seem to want to answer. That trend perhaps reached its peak in a trio of films that seem to center around mental illness, dreams, and/or hallucinations: Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. Of these, Mulholland Drive has become the most watched for various reasons, including fantastic lead performances by Naomi Watts and Laura Herring. It is also virtually impenetrable on first viewing, requiring a few different trips through it to really get the meat out of it. It's a movie that is as much about dreams as Inception could be said to be, but it doesn't hold your hand with exposition at all. So consider this spoiler-filled video our attempt to at least explain the basic reality of the movie. As to the deeper symbolism of the objects and characters in the film, you will have to draw your own conclusions. The film begins in a kind of pre-reality sequence, as an as-yet unnamed woman remembers her previous life as a winner of a jitterbug contest before she goes to sleep. We don't meet her until much later in the film, but we do see an image of the last thing she sees before falling asleep, thus entering the first dream of the film, a dream that lasts almost 2 hours, but which somewhat confusingly seems to actually take place after the events told in the part of the film that seems to take place in quote-unquote reality. Whew. In this dream, we're quickly introduced to a character named Rita, who loses her memory in a car accident shortly before she's about to be murdered by a limo driver. She wanders off, falls asleep in some bushes, and has a short dream of her own involving the police who are investigating her accident. She sneaks into a house nearby, falls asleep again, and has another dream set inside a coffee shop that we'll be visiting later. A character in this dream within a dream explicitly says that he's had a dream about the coffee shop himself, and even mentions that it's his second one, which matches up with Rita's dream count.
Why this Winkies?
I had a dream about this place.
He describes a man waiting outside of the coffee shop in his dreams and intends to go out there and face his terror. He is soon enough scared to death by the appearance of an absolutely filthy, homeless man. Neither of the characters here appear in any significant way later in the film, but this event does have the point when you consider that this is a dream inside of a dream. Soon afterward, we're treated to the borderline parody of the arrival in Hollywood of Betty, an aspiring actress with a gleam in her eye and a skip in her step. All the knobs here are pushed to 11 as Naomi Watts plays Betty as if she had somehow contracted a disease of fatal naivety.
Remember, I'll be watching for you on the big screen.
Okay, Irene. Won't that be the day?
It turns out that her aunt is loaning her the same house that Rita has snuck into, and the pair quickly become good friends.
My name's Rita. Hi.
Everything is super dramatic though, in an almost soap opera-ish way. And if you needed any more hints that we're not quite seeing reality, Betty basically says so outright.
I'm sorry. I'm just so excited to be here. I mean, I just came here from Deep River, Ontario, and now I'm in this dream place.
Rita has a recurring habit of falling asleep. She comes across as frightful and passive and needing Betty's protection and care at all times.
If you have a concussion, you shouldn't sleep. It'll be okay if I sleep.
All throughout this dream, Betty is also attempting to make her way into the world of Hollywood, where she comes into contact with the director Adam Kesher, who's attempting to make a movie called The Sylvia North Story. She auditions for a role in another film where her talents are received rapturously, but she doesn't even get the chance to audition for The Sylvia North Story because another woman, Camilla Rhodes, has been forced into the part by a pair of what appear to be monsters who repeatedly proclaim,
"This is the girl." What girl? This is the girl.
Despite Betty's talent, it's ignored due to the machinations of an unjust world. Kesha doesn't particularly seem to want to cast Rhodes in the part, but a midnight summons to a ghost-like corral squares him off against a hairless cowboy who repeats,
This is the girl.
And when the fateful moment comes when he could cast either Betty or Camilla, he takes a hint of everyone around him and says,
This is the girl.
During all of this, Betty and Rita are still trying to find out who precisely Rita is. She has no memory of anything in her life before the car crash.
This is your purse. Your name must be in your purse.
The pair find a pile of cash and a mysterious blue key in Rita's purse, and Betty seems to exude an almost Nancy Drewish perkiness as she gathers the clues.
There was an accident. You wouldn't tell me anything else, but that was your accident, Rita. I just know it was.
Rita remembers something upon seeing a waitress at the diner. Her name is Diane Selwyn. Upon looking up the name in a phone book, Betty and Rita give her a call, leading to dialogue that should be a heavy clue for the rest of the film.
It's strange to be calling yourself.
Maybe it's not me.
Hello, it's me. Leave a message.
Perhaps the weirdness of that moment begins to stir the dreamer to consciousness, as various signs begin to intrude on her conception of reality in the dream, such as when an odd woman appears at her door.
What are you doing in Ruth's apartment?
She's letting me stay here. I'm her niece. My name's Betty.
No, it's not.
Things get hairier when Betty and Rita head to the house of the woman named Diane. They meet an old roommate of Diane who looks very similar to Rita, see strange men who appear to be stalking the location out, and eventually come across Diane's dead body lying in bed. She's a blonde, which seems to mean something to Rita, who quickly cuts her hair and takes to wearing a blonde wig, presumably to fool the men who are attempting to kill her, while also winding up looking pretty similar to Betty, who says,
You look like someone else.
in a scene of almost unbearably sweet eroticism, the pair make love and Betty declares, The dream world begins to fade away and become more abstract, as Rita and Betty head to Club Silencio in the middle of the night, where they learn that everything within is merely an illusion.
There is no band. Il n'est pas d'orchestra. This is all a tape recording.
There are no musicians, everything was recording, and there's no sincerity there, everything is false, including perhaps reality itself. A woman sings a Roy Orbison song called Crying as the pair weep together, but Lynch sidesteps that embarrassing literalism by having it sung in Spanish. As it turns out, Betty had the box at Rita's key unlocked all along. Upon retrieving Rita's key, though, Betty disappears, and after opening the box, Rita disappears as well. Now, if you remember the ending of The Usual Suspects, where Chaz Palminteri begins to piece together Kevin Spacey's story as he looks around his office, then you'll understand how everything we've described thus far exists as a reference to events in the last 20 minutes of the film, which are Mulholland Drive's version of reality. It's a reality that is tinged with memory, though, and none of the events within are necessarily played out chronologically. First, the woman who fell asleep at the beginning of the film wakes up, and she's revealed to be Diane Selwyn, a decidedly less perky and upbeat Naomi Watts, who lives in the same apartment as Diane Selwyn in her dream, with a telltale blue key on her coffee table, and even wakes up in the same pose as Dream Diane's dead body. It's quickly revealed that she was involved with a woman named Camilla Rhodes, who left her to be with the director Adam Kesher.
It's just a continuation of that move.
Camilla has invited Diane to dinner at Adam's place, though, which is where everything starts to come together and you can see the parallels between her reality and the dream.
Shortcut.
Lines are repeated practically verbatim, as it is with Coco.
Well, just call me Coco. Everybody does. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Oh, just call me Coco. Everybody else does.
Diane explains that she won a jitterbug contest.
I won this jitterbug contest. That sort of led to acting.
She explains that she was in competition with Camilla for a part, but that the director liked Camilla more, which explains much of the dream sequence's blatant themes of superiority. Diane has an espresso as Kesher explains his wife's affair with a pool boy, which reflects the dream sequence of one of the mobsters throwing up his espresso when faced with Kesher's refusal to give in to his demands. She sees one of the mobsters from her dreams in the background. The woman who appears as Camilla Rhodes in her dreams comes along and passionately kisses the real Camilla, which further explains why she's the incarnation of everything Diane hates in her dream. Even the hairless cowboy makes a small appearance in the background. The scene ends with Camilla and Adam on the verge of announcing their engagement, but it quickly cuts to a scene sometime later in the recurrent diner, where where Diane is hiring a hitman by showing him a picture of Camilla Rhodes and saying, of course,
this is the girl.
She gives him the same money that she finds on Rita's purse in the dream, and he shows her a blue key, which he'll give to her when the job is done. She sees out of the corner of her eye the man who died behind the diner in the dream within the dream. She associates him with all the guilt that she later feels when she finds herself at home, the blue key on her table, indicating that Camilla is indeed dead. Although that guilt was deeply repressed in her dream, mostly crowded out by feelings of power and erotic love, it comes to the surface now in a violent hallucination. The smiling elderly couple that she associates with her arrival in Hollywood appear to her and hound her throughout her apartment. The brightest moment in her life has become her lowest nadir. Her dreams of stardom have become a terrifying nightmare. And, driven mad at last, she kills herself. Fini! And so we come around to it at last. Every significant moment in her recent life, from her trip to the limo, to the dinner with Camilla, to her hiring of the hitman, and even her falling asleep while presumably wishing she was dead, has been perverted and twisted into some of the most horrible imagery in Diane's dream. Now, we all have dreams with recognizable aspects of our recent life embedded within them, and part of the fun of this film is matching up the reality of Diane's life with the pseudo-reality of her dream. Lynch confuses things a little bit by putting the dream before the reality that Diane is dreaming of. Now, if I had to guess at a chronology for the film, I would say it goes something like this. Diane wins a jitterbug contest and comes to Hollywood to act. Camilla and Diane meet. Diane falls in love with Camilla. Camilla wants to be with Adam. Diane violently breaks up with her.
It's not easy for me! Diane!
Camilla's career becomes more successful than Diane's. Diane is invited to the party where Adam and Camilla's engagement is announced. Diane hires a hitman to kill Camilla. Diane falls asleep into a possibly alcohol-aided sleep where she dreams her lengthy dream. Diane wakes up and sees the blue key on her countertop and knows that Camilla is dead. And then finally Diane's guilt and shame catches up with her, as represented by the horrible homeless man in her dream, and she goes insane and kills herself. All of that doesn't really go into the many different items and symbols that Lynch throws into the film, but holy mackerel, has this video gone on long enough already. If you haven't seen Mulholland Drive, it is certainly a movie to watch and discuss with your friends. If you have, hopefully you found some of this slightly illuminating. If you disagree with any of these points, I would love to hear your comments. Leave them in the box below, and whatever you do, come back soon for more videos from Screen.com.